All right, welcome to Season 4, Episode 22, also known as Episode 133 of the Retro Game Club podcast. I am Hugh, and joining me to tell you about our new verified listener program is Rob.
It actually kind of works like the new PlayStation Network, where it's like, there's like an $8 a month, there's a $20 a month, and then there's a $50 a month where we'll actually talk to you about retro games. The rest of it, we just sit here, so.
Yeah. Well, for $8 a month, we'll verify that you are a head of state of a major government.
Yes. Well, we don't actually verify it. We just assume you're telling the truth.
Yeah, just when you write us an email, if you say you're, emperor of Singapore or something, we'll say that you are the emperor of Singapore on your email.
Yes. So it's been like a month since we've talked.
Yeah, it has. I think we both had.
It's been crazy.
Just a ton of work and other stuff. I finished. I've been playing Trails from Zero. I got to the end of it. I actually liked the game a lot, but compared to the rest of the series, the ending is a little weak. Like the Legend of Heroes series, at least the modern series, the games, like when a new story arc starts, the first chapter in that story arc always has like a cliffhanger ending. Mm-hmm. And they didn't do that with this game, and I was a little bit bummed out by that.
What are you playing that on?
I'm playing it on Switch because it and in the immediate sequel, and I think I mentioned this before, are the rare case where the Switch version is technically superior to the PS4 version.
That is rare.
Yeah, it's because there was never a Switch version, so it's based on the Windows port. And the Windows port has a bunch of like quality of life features that weren't in the PS4 version.
Okay.
It's a well over 10-year-old game. So this is not retro game related, but it is a getting older related. So like, longtime listeners will know that my wife and I are big fans of the Hallmark movies, the Hallmark Christmas movies. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're all kind of the same. I fell asleep during one last night, woke up, a different one was going. I couldn't tell that the movie had changed. No, that's true. And I feel like the target demographic is probably people our age. But while I was watching, like, they now have a lot of commercials for like newborn baby products. And I'm like, to my wife, I'm like, who are these for? Nobody our age has newborn babies. And oh. I see what's going on.
Yes.
I have a 20-year-old kid, right? So now I see why they're showing me that commercial.
Yep. Grandpa Hugh.
I'm back to the point in life where I get diaper commercials, but it's so awful. What about you? What have you been up to?
Oh man, I got so much here. So everyone buckle up. Let's see. The Stadia, however you pronounce it, the refunds have begun. So I'll let everyone know if I actually get money back, because they're supposed to refund 100% of what you spent. So that's hardware, which is just controllers, and any games, which I think I paid for one game. So we shall see. MakeMHz was in town. There is a anime convention here. I think it's one of the biggest anime conventions. I don't know. It's crazy crowded. But he brought a bunch of arcade cabinets up, and I happened to be free, and he happened to have a few hours open, and we drank a lot of beer. No one got roofied, so that's good. When you meet a new person and you don't get roofied.
Yeah, I was picturing like this sort of misery experience when we're talking here.
We drank way too much beer. Of course, it was in downtown Detroit, and on Sundays, Detroit is a ghost town, but the Lions happened to be starting the time I was driving out there and then ending the time I was driving home. So I got to hit that traffic twice. And they won, which was strange.
Yeah, that's really unusual. They beat the Packers, right?
Yeah, that might be a first.
That hasn't happened since like the 1970s or something.
if not longer. I don't know anything about football, but I do know that. Just like you, Analog Pocket shipped. So we'll see. We'll probably have a lot of GBA and like Turbo Express games in our near future for Game Club, right?
Yeah, well, I don't actually have it yet. So Zach was kind enough. I wasn't able to like, just because my work schedule, I wasn't able to like sit on my computer and hit refresh at the time they went out. Mm-hmm. But Zach, I think he's on the West Coast, and the time zone worked out for him, and he was able to buy two of them So he's sending me one. I'm literally on PayPal right now sending him the money for it. I forgot all about it.
I actually told him, like, hey, if for some reason he doesn't want it, maybe I'll take it. And he was like, idiot, you bought one. I was like, no, I didn't. So he sent me the email I sent him saying like, oh, I don't need one. I just got one. I actually didn't even believe the email, so I had to look back through credit card statements. That's how bad my my hoarding has gotten. What else? Vampire Survivor. Have you heard of this game?
I've heard of it, but I don't know it, no.
I suggest it. It's a top-down, maybe. Yeah, it's isometric. Gosh, I don't want to even say beat 'em up. You press no buttons in this game. You just use the analog stick and the buttons you have, and just shoot at certain intervals. It's so addicting. It's hard to describe this game, but it's very, very addicting. It might be. I don't think it's my game of the year, but it's really high up. But at the same time, it also feels like it could just be one of the best cabinets in Arcade Paradise, which was also one of my favorite games of the year. So it's a really strange one for me, but I'm really into it. It's one of those games where I'll just pick up for a few minutes sometimes still. And then A Plague Tale: Innocence I played on the Steam Deck. And wow, what a fantastic game. If someone's into kind of third-person action adventure games with great story and not quite your average zombie, not really zombie type game, but yeah, it's not your average game. Great story. I highly recommend it. There's a sequel out that I will eventually play once it's on sale. I'm playing God of War Fraggle Rock, which I will always call it that no matter what. It is, it's kind of fun. I don't know. However you think it is exactly, you got it right. Mm-hmm. Like, you almost don't need to play it because you already know what it's going to be. And that's why I think when games are rated and reviewed, I really think the amount of manpower put into a game should be part of the score. Because, like, I kind of enjoy Vampire Survivor, and that's like one person. He may have coded it, like, in a month or two, but, hundreds or thousands and millions of dollars went into God of War, and yeah, it's good, but Vampire Survivor is kind of better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I've worked on, game development and just general software development are not radically different. Mm-hmm. Other than, like, game development may have much harder ship dates, but even that's not always true, right? I've been on a lot of software projects that had, like, if you don't ship it by this date, there's no point in even doing the project at all.
Yes.
So, like, there definitely is. I mean, I if I ever retire, maybe I'll write a book about this. But there's definitely sort of a diminishing returns thing with team size. Mm-hmm. Like, once you get past a certain point, I think you actually lose productivity adding more people.
Oh yeah, I mean, like you've said before, when you hire extra developers, the first thing you need to do is figure out who is actually good and just keep the rest of the people busy with busy work. Keep them away from the code. Right.
And I suspect something like God of War has maybe 4 or 5 project managers you don't really need on the team. A couple of testers who maybe aren't really, carrying their weight. Probably some developers that get in the way more than they do write useful code. So yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But definitely check out Plague Tale and Vampire Survivor, and hopefully both of us have Analog Pocket stories for next episode.
Going back to the Analog Pocket, you had mentioned TG16. I don't think that adapter's out yet. I think as shipped, it plays the entire Game Boy family, and then they have the Game Gear adapter for sale right now. But they will, I think next year they're selling like a pack that is TurboGrafx 16 links and maybe Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Well, what's it called? The OS on it is Analog OS or Pocket OS, something like that, is open now, and there's like 17 cores available. And I think TurboGrafx is one of them. I know Neo Geo is one of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's definitely one of the cores. What I'm saying is you can't put a TurboGrafx game in it yet.
Yeah,
It doesn't have a slot yet. You have to buy. I'm looking at where's their their store kind of makes it hard for you to purchase items, not just because they're always out of stock, but because of the usability of their site. All right, here we go. Yeah, so coming 2023, the adapter for TurboGrafx 16, PC Engine, and Super Graphics. That's kind of interesting.
That is interesting, yeah.
It is, yeah. Atari Lynx Neo Geo Pocket Color. And that's going to be a 3-pack for $100, and I think they have a flat rate of like $30 to ship to the U.S.
I think I may have pre-ordered that. I ordered some pack with it.
Okay. I will be getting the Game Gear adapter at least, because I have literally like some storage things over here, and I have like 6 drawers filled with loose Game Gear games.
Nice. Cool.
I have 30 or 40 loose Game Gear games, and literally nothing. I have a Game Gear where the screen's basically dead. Not to mention it's a Game Gear.
That's a common tale. Yeah. You don't have 6,000 batteries to play it with
right.
either.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm looking at your notes. I don't know if we want to save your notes for when we talk about Game Club, or if you had anything else.
I'm going to talk about it later, but I did install the Grand Theft Auto remakes. And since Vice City's my pick, I'll just save comments on that.
Well, I also said that since a lot of the news is mine, I'll take a lot of it. But okay. I do know the first story is your favorite of the week, so I think I should give that one to you.
It is, yeah. Yeah, it was new Atari 2600 games shipped with upside-down PCBs. Which I think is great. So it's very on brand for the company that is currently called Atari. That they've done some, like, we're going to re-release certain games or release games that were never released before, but they're literally assembling them upside down.
Yeah, which means not one person wanted at the factory or the shipping center or the Atari holding company in general, not one person played it before shipping.
Right. I suspect no one involved has ever played an Atari 2600.
Agreed. These are all lawyers and investors. That's it.
Yeah.
But this video does show you how to fix it, and it's not too easy because you have to take off the stickers to get to the screw.
Yeah. It's exactly, yeah. So if you don't mind destroying the sticker, it's an easy fix.
Oh, I would be livid if I bought one of those. I want to hop back. There's one of my items that I didn't talk about. This next story reminded me about it. Last episode, we were talking about what a Sega CD dev kit would look like. And I found one. And there is a virtual CD-ROM in there. It's emulated on through a SCSI hard drive. And this box looks like a Genesis 1 that ate a toaster. That's what it looks like.
It does, yeah. It's like someone took the top off a Genesis 1 and the top off a Sega CD, original Sega CD, and welded them together.
Yeah. And it also has a bunch of Star Wars type lights on the front. It's pretty neat looking.
Yeah. I don't know what all these lights mean.
Yeah, it's almost like an Altair type setup.
Yeah, and unfortunately the picture isn't quite high res enough for you to read everything on it.
Yeah, but the story I was going to get to was that there is a new Sega Saturn SDLoader. That's what it's called, SDLoader. And what this is you could either ruin one of your Saturn controllers or just somehow get a Saturn controller cable, and you splice the end onto an SD card mount. And with this CD-ROM, or this image that you could burn to a CDR, you put that in your Saturn, and then it allows you to back up your saves.
Mm-hmm.
So that is about that on that one. But this next story is my favorite of the week. So MakeMHz announces Xbox mod Project Stellar. So this is huge, and I'm so into this project. So most mods are just, an optical drive emulator for an SD card, or an HDMI out, maybe an upscaler, that kind of thing. Project Stellar for the Xbox actually takes over a bunch of the Xbox's features. And so it kind of adds an OS to it. I think it even has Wi-Fi and stuff like that, but it does come with an HDMI mod. It allows you to put a faster CPU, more RAM, a bigger hard drive, just so many quality of life features that kind of modernizes your original Xbox. And I am so about this thing. I cannot wait to get my hands on one of these. It even adds like trim, so if you put an SD card in there, it won't ruin the SD card. And yeah, it's an upgradable OS and all that stuff. So really cool. What else do we have here? Oh, the Sonic hacking contest. Did you get a chance to look at any of these?
No, because I can't click on any of the links in this article.
Really? They're working for me.
Yes, but if you have Pi-hole, they don't work. There's they, for whatever reason, the links to all the winning entries are going through like some SEO tool. Some sort of link tracker, so they can, I don't know what they're trying to accomplish from this. So if I right click and click copy URL and strip out that part of it, then I can view the entries, but it was too much work.
That is really strange. Well, yeah, really the listeners, these will be in, this link's in the show notes. So definitely check these out. It's, different categories between like Sonic 1, a 3D Sonic hack, stuff like that. And then kind of a related story is someone restored Sonic CD. Now, I don't know nearly enough about Sonic CD, even after reading this, but apparently they up-resed the full motion videos to 720p. They cleaned up the audio, and I guess you could play as Amy. A whole bunch of stuff in here. So if you're a Sonic CD fan, definitely check out Sonic CD Restored. Let's see what else we got.
The next one's my least favorite article of the week.
Well, so all it is you could put in a different... So this is for the Game Boy player, for the GameCube, you can use a new loader. So, I don't know, a mini DVD-R. And it will, I guess, make the games look better, which is fine.
Subjectively better, right? I mean, that's the thing. When I read this article, it's like, these games look better according to my definition of better.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like this article. And
yeah, apparently the original software kind of blurred it a little bit to kind of get rid of the jagged lines, but some people like that and some people don't. So yeah, they should just say it makes it look different.
Different, yes.
Just quickly, there's a new full path ray tracing mod for Quake, which I don't know the difference between full path and just regular ray tracing. So
no, it looks really good though.
Yes, it looks beautiful.
It looks better than the remake I just played through this year.
Oh, I imagine. Yeah. And the next one, which a lot of podcasts, since we've kind of been delayed, a lot of podcasts have already talked about this. The COMMODORION. Some dude took two C64s and made a accordion-like thing out of it, and the bellow is made out of floppy disks. It's incredible. It really is.
It is really, really amazing project, yeah. And I have heard about it on 2 other podcasts. So.
Yeah. And just... I think what strikes me the most about this is it's not just both outputting their different audio. It actually combines it within the bellows somewhere, and there's like a mic involved and all this stuff. There's math involved too. Yeah. Very, very cool. What is this next one? Oh, geez. This might be my least favorite of the episode.
I wasn't huge on this one either, and I may have added it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
It's about running Doom at 60 frames per second in Notepad, which is not, I think, entirely accurate. But what's going on here?
I don't know exactly how it works, but it's it's using Notepad as like the TV. So the only thing I could guess is that the mod of Doom is editing a text file
That's what I think is going on. I think it's rapidly refreshing a text file.
at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
It looks kind of neat, though. I wonder if this is, you know what? I want the person that did this, because of course they're listening to this podcast, because this is the only retro podcast, right? I mean, we've got to be the only podcast with the Doom running on things segment, but
There's probably an entire podcast dedicated to that.
probably, there's probably hundreds. This seems like the next step would be running Doom just in a terminal, right?
Yeah, that might have been done already. I have to search for that. There's a good chance someone's done that
Let's
already.
see. Doom terminal Linux. Okay, let's see. Doom in the terminal. It uses curses. There you go. It's already. Oh, this looks great.
Yeah, I mean, I like we look at the video for this particular mod. Like the first video recommended from YouTube is how many potatoes does it take to run Doom?
We've covered that before, I think.
Yeah, I think we did. It was only 2 years ago. I'll let you know how long I have to scroll down before I get a flat Earth video. But
in Doom in terminal does not look 50 or 60 FPS, but it does look neat. What else do we have? Steam Decks can now play or can now run a Game Boy Advance cartridge. So it's like a USB-C to Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance cartridge, and it actually works.
yeah, I assume anything you can plug in USB works.
Yeah, it's just they probably just had to update the core or whatever. And another thing that other podcasts have covered by now is that brain cells and a lab dish can play Pong, which we will put a giant asterisk next to. So what this is a petri dish with a chip, like the chip in the interface is the first layer, and then a layer of brain cells on top of that. And they take a Pong-like program. It's one paddle and a ball, and the brain cells can tell where the paddle and the ball are, due to electrical, interface. And if they hit the ball and keep it going, it gives the brain cells a steady, repeatable electrical pulse. But if they do it wrong, it gives them randomized white noise, which apparently there's some theory, I forget what the theory is called, that, let's see, what is it called? The free energy principle, that brain cells want something to be repeatable and not random, and they strive for that, which explains a lot about my repetitive life, I guess. So, thoughts on this one? Any?
No. I heard another podcast talk about it. It was a science one, and we were talking about how this was kind of a clickbait headline.
Oh, totally. But I mean, it's still cool they did it. You know what I mean? It's not playing Pong. It's
right. That's why I wasn't a big fan of it. It's to say it's playing Pac-Man. Who cares, right? Like,
yeah. But
we got this cell to eat this other cell. We taught cells how to play Pac-Man, right? Like.
Well, that is our news, and I think that for Game Club, we should do yours first because it's almost like a topic.
Kind of, yeah. Hold on, I gotta close Twin tabs. So yeah, I noticed that Grand Theft Auto Vice City turned 20 this month, which maybe makes some people feel old. It doesn't for me because I got into it later.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't play it in 2002. I played it many years later, so it seems. I wouldn't say it seems like a new game to me, but it certainly doesn't seem 20 years old. And for people who aren't familiar, it's it's I think the most open of the Grand Theft Auto games. In that, like at the very beginning of the game, you can pretty much access the entire map, and you aren't really forced into the main story right away if you don't want to do it. And maybe that's true with the other games, like Grand Theft Auto 3. I found was really locked down, and in San Andreas, you're also locked down a lot at the beginning. Although the first area in that game is pretty huge. So, And the basic premise is you're a ex-con who's sent down to sort of fictionalized Miami, I guess, to participate in a drug deal. It gets busted up, and now you have to figure out who busted up your drug deal, and then eventually you, in this sort of like Godfather 2 type of sequence, take over the organized crime business and then have to run it. So that's the very short version of the plot. I probably, before Breath of the Wild came out, I probably would have said it was my favorite game of all time. I don't really keep a list of games, but it was probably pretty high on that list. Again, mostly because it was like the first game since maybe the original Legend of Zelda that really, I thought, did the open world thing right. Again, because you start off with just no constraints at all. And again, like you could say about the other games, but the other games, again, are super locked down. Even like Grand Theft Auto 5, which I assume everyone's played, like there's nothing to do in the game when you start. You pretty much have to follow the story because it's this huge place where there's kind of nothing going on. I thought it was really weird.
Yeah.
Like you can wander around, you can drive, but there's just nothing really worthwhile to do. So you kind of have to do the missions. I decided to go ahead and try the Grand Theft Auto remastered version, or whatever it's called, Definitive Edition. Is that the
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably end up posting an article about it at some point because I've just encountered so many weird things in that version. The install time was indeed terrible. So I don't know if your PS4 is all needy like this, but if I don't turn my PS4 on for like 2 weeks, it does the whole like you unplug the system screen when I turn it on.
Oh yeah, and the PS5 does that too. The PS3 never did. Like they got it right in the PS3. I don't know why the PS4 and the PS5 are broken in that way.
Yes, you have to turn it on every day or else it like acts like it's dying.
Yeah.
So that's like 20 minutes right there for it to go through scanning the hard drive. And then, I was behind a system update because it had been 2 whole weeks. So that was 15 minutes. And then I was out of disk space. So went and uninstalled some games I'm not going to play again. Right. So it's another like 10 minutes. Then you install from the CD, which takes another 20 minutes. And then download install updates is like another 30 minutes. So it was definitely over an hour to get this game going.
Yeah.
Possibly more because I would go and like do stuff in between these various steps. So I was originally kind of skeptical. I read a lot of negative feedback about this game and I'm like, oh, well, the remake can't be that bad. No, it kind of is. The remake is definitely more broken and glitchier than the original.
But it has high res.
Probably hard to believe because the original game is pretty glitchy.
Yeah, but it just has high res textures. That's it. Right? That's like all they did.
Right, but I mean, like, you will just be driving. There'll just be cars that are vertical, stuck in the road, like just in random spots all over the place. There's one mission early on in the game where you have to go to the golf course, and there is a taxi cab just driving through the golf course. Like, I just don't know how you get things like that. And then there's just a lot of places where you can just clip through walls. Like the whole environment seems to be made of like sponge cake. And there's spots where you'll be walking and like your sprite will kind of sink into the ground a little bit while you're walking. A lot of weird stuff like that. So I'm not really sure how I'm assuming it was just really rushed.
Oh yeah.
The biggest improvement really is the camera. That it has a real camera now. I think maybe the PC version had one too, though. And that was an otherwise good version. The one thing that I thought was kind of neat, though, is you can get, if you remember in Vice City, you start on one island and like the bridge to the other islands is closed because there was a storm or whatever reason they made up. But in the original game, there's like 4 or 5 different ways to glitch over to the other island early, which you do because then you can you can start the game with like all the weapons and, some properties already, and you can complete all the rampages. Like you can start the game with, throughout the world, they're the hidden packages. And if you find all 100 of them, then you get a bunch of bonus items, right? So the advantage to going to the second and third islands early is that you get all this bonus stuff early. So again, the game's like 1,000 times easier if you happen to have a full arsenal when you start it.
Oh yeah.
So I decided to try one approach that is kind of hit or miss on the original, and it worked like the first, like literally I'm 5 minutes into the game and I'm already on the second island. And it just involves like there's a pier with some boats, but there's like a fence around the pier.
Mm-hmm.
And if you drop a car into the water, you can then jump onto the car and then from the car onto the pier and then grab a boat.
That's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. In the original, you kind of have to get like a bus because you need something because Tommy Vercetti, the main character, doesn't jump very far. He jumps about as well as I do, really. But in the remake, he's like an Olympic jumper now. Like they, I guess, fixed the jump. But he like, again, could probably compete for a medal now. So I just dropped a random small car in, and in the first try, hopped across, got on a boat, and sailed over. I'm like, oh, well, that was really easy.
Nice.
I don't know. The other ways that you got over were definitely like collision glitches. Like you crash your car into this fence, and because there's like a mechanic where like when you crash on a motorcycle, you fly off the motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you crash it into a fence at the right angle, you actually just glitch through the fence when you go flying off the motorcycle. But in the new version, it's impossible to fall off a motorcycle. I mean, like I heard that about this and I tried it out. And yeah, if you're on a motorcycle, you can just drive straight into a wall at full speed and you won't fall off.
Wow.
I guess they consider that an improvement. But I knew because of that glitch wouldn't work. So I had to try a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
And the other approach involves like getting a truck that has like, a ramp on it, like a tow truck kind of thing, the thing that you ship cars on.
Yeah.
Is you can steal one of those and use that as a ramp to like basically jump across the river.
Nice.
I didn't try that approach yet, but I'm sure that would work too.
That all sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. And then that's where I found out the next bug in the game is, so I'm like, okay, now I can go get all the like hidden packages and start the game with a bunch of stuff. So I'm on the other island and there's helicopters on the other island. So I grab a helicopter, I fly it, I land it, and then it just explodes for no reason. Didn't hit anything, it just blew up.
Nice.
And I'm like, well, I guess I'll just play the game as the developers intended you to. But the original game, again, has some bugs, but they're actually kind of fun bugs. Because again, they're things that let you get to parts of the game early. And nothing that makes the world seem broken. It still feels like kind of the world feels like intact, for lack of a better term.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I have always enjoyed the game. I think you mentioned the radio stations. Radio stations are hilarious. I actually think the talk stations are, if they were real talk stations, I would have them on all the time.
I mean, the radio in it, I thought was revolutionary. Totally revolutionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, the soundtrack and like you said, the talking, and I would just drive around to listen to them.
Yeah, and like Grand Theft Auto 3 maybe it had one licensed radio station. I remember the radio stations being like good, but it wasn't like real music from the era.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, for me, the weakest part's definitely the racing quests. But yeah, the radio station, the graphics, the driving were a great upgrade from GTA 3. I really liked buying businesses, so the clubs and the ice cream trucks and all that stuff. That was really rewarding and fun and innovative. And the way I would play the game is I would do a few missions and then save my game and just do some stupid stuff like get the tank and turn it so its cannon is facing behind and use it as like an accelerator. Steal buses and, like park a bus in the middle of an intersection. So there's cars backed up for miles and just like throw one grenade. So all the cars eventually blow up, stuff like that.
Try and see if you can get to like a maximum star level and escape. Totally.
Yeah. Or stand on top of a car and just keep shooting cars behind you. So your car goes faster and everyone's freaking out. Just causing mayhem in that game is great. really have nothing negative to say about this. You know, I have not played the remastered version of it. I don't think the one I have on PS4 I thought was from before that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, the PS4 one is like a upscaled version of the original.
Okay.
So it's the original game with really just kind of scaling. There might be a couple bug fixes in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be missing a song or two also. Like I think the Michael Jackson songs they lost the license to maybe. Otherwise, it's the same game as the original. And the PC version is also the same game as the original, but with kind of, better. It's PC, right? So the graphics are a little better. The aiming controls work a little different. And it's been a while since I played it. I thought maybe the camera was better on there too.
This game was also an anomaly. You know, it kind of brought together the people who would only play Madden and then the people who would play all the other games. And most people just kind of agreed on this game. And I feel like for a long period of time, this was like the game everyone was playing.
Mm-hmm.
People stopped going out. You would just have a few friends over and play this instead, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the reason why I bought a PS2. You know, I saw GTA 3 and I wanted a PS2. And then when I saw this was coming out, that's what I've told this story on this podcast before, but for $35 on eBay, there was a not working PS2 and I bought it, cleaned the lens, the laser lens, and it worked perfect forever.
Yeah. How did they gum up the laser lens that quickly?
What year did this come out again? Because it wasn't that early in the PS2's life.
Yeah, it was about a year into the PS2's life, right?
This came out in 2002, so yeah, and PS2 came out in 2000, right?
Yeah, 2001, I thought.
Oh yeah, may have been 2000 in Eastern Hemisphere.
I literally wrote like a giant article about this kind of stuff. But regardless, it was a fairly young system. This is a 2-year-old system at most.
Yeah. So I don't know how they screwed up a PS2 that quickly, but I reap the benefits of it. Anything else to say about Vice City?
No, I mean, I could talk about it for hours probably. Like I could go through and talk about funny ways to solve each mission. To me, that's one of the reasons I keep replaying it is because I like to try out different funny ways to solve the missions. Like the later games, especially 5, I think are missing that. I mean, there are missions where like you're in the middle of a mission and maybe you took a bunch of damage. You can like get in a car, drive all the way to the other side of the island, like far, far away, get health, get armor, buy new weapons, and then go back to the mission that's like 20 minutes away. And I'm just thinking about how that would work in real life. Like I'm holding up a bank. Oh, hold on. Let me go back to my house and get some armor.
Yeah.
And go back to robbing that bank again.
And if I remember right too, there's a point where like you might only have a pistol and you're supposed to kill some dude. But if somehow you got a sniper rifle before that, you could just like, all right, I'll just shoot him from a mile away and mission completed.
Yeah. The golf course one mission kind of works like that because it steers you through like, oh, you got to go through this metal detector. So you don't really, it might only be like a pistol you find on the other side. It was something like that. And it's like, yeah, but I could just like jump a car over the fence to the land, basically crash a car into the middle of the golf course and then do whatever I feel like.
Yeah.
And then the other weird thing, of course, is like you're this city surrounded by water, but nobody can swim. So a lot of missions, if you can just like knock someone's car into the water, you solve the mission.
Yeah.
Because everybody just drowns from any contact with water there.
Instantly.
Yeah.
I think that's something they fixed. I only played GTA 5 for a little bit.
Yeah.
I keep meaning to go back to it, but I think they fixed that.
Well, even the immediate sequel, Vice City Stories, you can swim.
Oh,
you can't swim all the way across the water separating the islands, but you can swim for, a fairly short distance.
Yeah, you don't die if you touch water.
Right. You can survive water.
Well, cool. Should we go to my game?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, I did MediEvil on the PS1. It came out in 1998. It's a Sony, published game, definitely for the PS1. And yeah, you play as Sir Daniel Fortescue. And so the backstory of this game is in the year 1286, an evil sorcerer was trying to take over the kingdom, and he was thwarted. It didn't. Is that a word? Did I say it? Is that a real word?
You said it correctly, yeah.
Okay. And you were supposed to be the, hero, but what the king covered up was that you were actually hit by the first arrow fired. And so you were buried, you were dead, but you're canonized as a hero. And then the sorcerer came back. This is where the game starts. And, due to a series of events, your skeleton is reanimated and you need to, save the kingdom. But you do it with the help of the heroes from this Hall of Heroes. Kind of their statues, I think hold their soul, and they will gift you with new weapons and upgrades and stuff like that. And so this is a 3D action with some platforming. You're hitting people with either your skeleton arm, which you actually throw, or an axe or a sword. They all have their different powers. You traverse the world through a Mario 3 or really Mario 4 type map. This game is fantastic. I think it's fantastic. It really takes heavy influence from Nightmare Before Christmas. This was developed by Chris Sorrell, I think I pronounced that correctly, who developed James Pond. Have you ever played that series?
Oh, a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Long time ago.
So it's like these two games are what he's known for. Some people don't like the controls in this game. I think it plays great. I played the original and most recently the remaster on PS4, which is what I would recommend. A lot of quality of life type things and obviously better graphics. But I mean, people hold Psychonauts in such high esteem, and I think this game's better. I think it looks better and plays better, and quite frankly, I think it's funnier. I almost think it plays like a 3D Zelda game, to tell you the truth. But I don't know. I don't have many bad things to say about this. You could beat it in about 8 hours, and it was a fantastic Halloween game, which we're way out of that season now. But I saw you watched a speed run of it.
I did. Unfortunately, I didn't really know what the game was about. It's a little hard to follow. It looks interesting. I just had read that there was a PS3 remake, not PS3, PSP. Not the right thing. There's a PSP remake, and now I'm kind of curious. If I can find that cheap, I'll probably try it.
You should. You absolutely should. And there's a sequel too, which I'm interested in. There are 2 endings to this game, so in every level, you could go back and replay levels as many times as you want. In fact, if you run out of like the life potion, because you kind of need a lot of that to defeat some bosses, sometimes you could just go back to one of the first few levels and just plow through it and get more life that way, and more money. But there are 2 endings, and so there are chalices that you could get in each level. And what you have to do is you'll find the chalice. That's part of the puzzle, is actually finding it, or sometimes unlocking it too. And then the next part is every time you kill an enemy, your chalice meter goes up. So once it gets to 100%, you could go get that chalice. And then once you get that chalice, after you beat the level, you'll go to the Hall of Heroes, and that's when they will gift you something. So if you get all of the chalices, spoiler alert, the ending is you get into the Hall of Heroes. If you don't, then you still won, you still save the kingdom, but you just go back into your coffin, unanimated. And you need to get at least 8 chalices or 9, something like that, because the last boss, you will be helped by 9 of the heroes if you get that many. So you're definitely motivated to. But yeah, I definitely recommend this game. I'm glad I played it again. If anyone's on the fence on it, it's 8 hours. You know what I mean? You can really power through it. What do you want to play next?
Well, why don't you explain yours first? Because I based my pick off your pick.
Okay, yeah, I'm doing Arkanoid 2, The Revenge of Doe, and it's only because I wanted to pick kind of a quick, easy game that I knew I'd like, simply because I have some big games I'm playing now. So I wanted something a little bit different. And you picked yours based off mine.
Yeah, I decided if you're going to do a paddle game, we should just both do paddle games. So I picked Kaboom.
I'm excited for these. It'll be
Classic
fun.
paddle game Kaboom.
But yeah, we got some emails, right?
Yeah. So the first one is actually from from last episode, from the previous episode, from Kevin, and we apologize. We recorded this email, but somehow something went very badly.
What happened is like an idiot, I got a text and I checked it while recording, and it wasn't a bad text or anything. But you know, when you get distracted from something and then you just couldn't get back in the mindset. Yeah, I just butchered this email way too much that
right.
It wasn't fair.
It was like, hey, I want to talk to you about my experience with Sega CD, and are you coming over for Thanksgiving too? Hold on. It was like,
yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah.
So Hugh, I will let you not butcher this as bad as I
will.
did.
I promise I'll butcher it. I always butcher emails. So anyways, how Kevin says he's growing up, he had a friend with 2 older brothers, and they used to go to each other's houses all the time to play video games. His house was the Nintendo house, and his friend's house was the Sega house. He seems to recall they mostly played Disney games at his place, like Aladdin and Mickey Mouse. But then his older brothers got a Sega CD, and it felt like more of a grown-up system. They could only play the console if both of his brothers were out of the house, and they would have to sneak into their room to play it. And on a side note, he remembers one of the 2 brothers created a replica of the skinless Terminator arm from Terminator 2.
It's amazing.
He made it from an old roof antenna. So there you go. That sounds... he probably should sell that as a piece of art. Anyway, they must have gotten the Sega CD with Sewer Shark as a pack-in game, because that's the only game he remembers playing on it. It's hard to describe how advanced and grown up the goofy FMV videos looked at the time, along with the humor and slightly like off-color comments from the boss. It felt to someone who like only played Disney or Sega games, you know, like a whole new generation, right? It's a whole new thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny at the time, but he didn't really understand what the system was or how it worked, only that it used CDs, which still seemed pretty new. It didn't feel like something that he could possibly ever own, just this mysterious system that his friends had. Later on, his friend's family became a Sony house, I guess. They bought a PlayStation, and the friendship, you know, at that point centered around playing Final Fantasy VII for about a year, and then they went off to college. So there you go. A lot of people like, yeah, I mean, that's all your kids, your friends growing up are basically whoever is closest to you.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not so much today because the kids have like internet and stuff. But that was certainly the case back in the day. And if you were lucky, I could have like this Nintendo house, Sega house dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Growing up, it was more like, here's the house with guns and here's the house that doesn't have guns. That seemed to be more the way it actually worked out in practice growing up. But that was the 80s, so different time.
Mm-hmm.
And we got an email from me. So thank you, Kevin. Sorry again about reading the Sega City feedback late. Majors writes in about the JB Harold Murder Club walkthrough that I happened to post on GameFAQs, which is like one of the 2 walkthroughs I posted on GameFAQs. I was talking about last episode with GameFAQs being acquired by who, I forget who now. Fandom. That's right. And just by coincidence, I guess he wanted to play JB Harold Murder Club. So there you go. He might have the Japanese version. He sent a picture of it. I think that could be the Japanese version. That's weird. That game has both the Japanese and English versions on both discs. And when you start the game, you can just choose Japanese or English.
Oh, cool.
Correctly. So they're the same game. They just made both regions have both translations.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever. Comment about regular customers at a store. So we can relate to getting to know repeat customers at Babbage's. The discussion of Sega CD reminded him of one customer that was an early adopter for the Sega CD. And it just remembers they were big fighting game fans, like Eternal Champion, Samurai Showdown, and Fatal Fury. And he remembers feeling sad when they would come in looking for new games and there was nothing. Yep. What else is on here? He says the power base converter does work on a CDX. You just have to bend some wires. Okay, I don't know if I want to try that. I thought for some reason the power base converter only worked on the first model of Genesis because of some hardware thing, but I'm probably misremembering. Or at least I definitely am. What does CD or 64 mean when in the title of a game? Yes, it is confused because CD typically means it's an enhanced version of an existing game like Earthworm Jim.
Unless it's Sonic CD, which is what confused me.
Right. Again, that's really it is confusing. I think I said last week or last episode they should have just called it Sonic 4.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then finally some feedback on Sewer Shark. He was not a big fan of the FMV gimmick. But thinks the cheesy acting is fine and fun and campy anyways. He had some difficulties getting this to run on the Mega EverDrive Pro, which I haven't played. You probably have one of those, right?
I use the Terra Onion version, so not the EverDrive version.
Oh, okay. He thought Sonic CD, unfortunately, he played Sonic CD when he was kind of burned out on Sonic games, it sounds like.
All of us.
Yeah.
Literally everyone.
And then thanks for the shout out to Mach 3, which I guess this was a pretty obscure arcade game. I don't think it was wide distribution. Have you even heard of Mach 3, the Laserdisc game?
No.
Yeah, the one I saw was so it's sort of an afterburner style game. It has like a flight yoke, right? And it's run over like realistic background. So it has like you're basically flying over like real terrain.
Oh, I've played this.
You played it then?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm almost positive. Here, I'm looking for a video.
Yeah, so there's a stand-up and sit-down version. The one I saw was the sit-down version, which I think is probably, I assume is the more rare version. Blah. And it was just at some random arcade in, 83 when arcades were still a thing.
I think I played it. The videos coming up are definitely for a different game.
Wait, so you have played it, or?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I think so, yeah. Yeah, and thanks to MakeMHz for emailing and for listening to me talk while we were drinking beer. So that tells you that, any listener, if you're coming through Detroit, let us know. If it works out, I'll meet up. And no, the only rules are no roofies, no murdering. That's it.
Yes.
But if anyone does want to email us, that is email@retrogameclub.net. Email@retrogameclub.net. We have our link tree in here with all of our socials that Zach takes care of. And let us know if you're playing MediEvil, Vice City, Arkanoid 2, Kaboom, if your brain is playing Pong, if you're modding your Xbox or your Saturn, or if you're using backwards 2600 carts, anything. If you built a COMMODORION, anything. Email@retrogameclub.net. And we do have some socials here.
Yeah, some of it is about, some of it is just, we love Batman Returns and Soul Feast on Mega CD.
Nice.
That was a big one. Some feedback on Vice City. Love the soundtrack. It was hot and has been one of my favorite gaming soundtracks. I was so glad they kept the bulk of them in the remaster. Here's the problem. You can go on like all the I assume there's shared playlists on all the music services. I only use Spotify, so I don't know. But you can get like playlists on Spotify of, the Vice City radio stations. But to me, they're just not the same without the bizarre commercials.
Totally. Exactly. Yeah.
I think without the commercials, the soundtracks are just not the same.
And someone else here does not like MediEvil. The annoying camera and awkward controls.
Yeah. Well, it has PlayStation camera, right?
Yeah.
That's a lot of games from that era. Bad camera is a very valid criticism.
Yeah, I mean, it really wasn't until Mario 64 where they started to get it right. Mario 64, they didn't quite get it right, but it was close. And so, the email again is email@retrogameclub.net and Arkanoid 2 and Kaboom. And I think we wrapped that one up, right?
I think so. So thanks for listening.